Hi, I'm Tim Marks, and I'm one of the Life founders, and I'm here to talk to you about a couple products we have this month for the AGO March subscription series. And first, we actually have the message from Orrin Woodward. He preached this message, I guess, a couple months ago out in California, and he preached on Luke chapter 15, verses 1 through 10. And Orrin does a fantastic job just breaking down the gospel and reminding us all through that parable how we all can be a little bit like a Pharisee. So what Orrin does is he points out that Jesus hung out with the sinners, and the Pharisees and the scribes would look down on Jesus, and they mocked him and ridiculed him because he hung out with the sinners. Well, the fact is we're all sinners and we're all in need of His grace. And Orrin also talks about how ultimately Jesus was hung on the cross because of the sin. Now, what sin was that? Because the only sin that they could ever accuse Jesus of was that He claimed to be God. Actually, He was God, so He didn't sin. He was the perfect one. But the fact is, He did die for sin on that cross. And He died for my sin and your sin. And lastly, Orrin kind of points out that we all need to be very aware that we all have some Pharisee in us, and we all are in need of grace. So we need to be very careful of that. And next, we have a fantastic book this month. It's called What is a Healthy Church by Mark Dever. And I really love this book. I recommend that everybody read this over and over and then examine where you're going to church. Some of you may be even looking for a church. You're not attending a church yet, or maybe you're feeling like, wow, I'm not really being fed at the church that I'm at. How would I find another church? Well, he actually talks about if you feel led to leave your church, how do you do that in a God-honoring way? Certainly we don't want people just leaving churches to leave churches, but sometimes that needs to happen. So today there are so many different flavors of churches and kinds and denominations. How do you pick? Do you get the one with the big white steeple, or do you want the one where the guy rides the Harley on the stage, or whatever? There's so many different things you can look at in a church. Really what we need to do is pick a church that is God-honoring and that preaches the gospel. So in here he talks about some of the key things we need to look for. Expository preaching would be the first thing. Biblical theology. We should attend a church with a proper understanding of biblical theology. A biblical understanding of the good news. A lot of churches out there today, unfortunately, a vast majority of them teach that the good news is God is your friend, Jesus is your friend, and He'll, if you just keep a positive attitude and stay close to Him and believe in Him, everything will be all right. Well, that's not the gospel message. So he talks about what is the gospel message, and then he goes through conversion, evangelism, membership, church discipline, and then he wraps up the book with a good example of what a church covenant should be. When we join a church and we are a member at a church, which all Christians should do, we actually enter into a covenant with that body. And a covenant is not like a contract. A covenant is even stronger. A covenant says, I commit to do this. And so when we're a real Christian, we have given up on our moral rights and our moral righteousness, and we rely solely on Christ, and we'll want to be part of a body of Christ. And so I just encourage you to read this book, study it, enjoy it, and we will see you next month in the AGO series. God bless.